mathematics lesson brought to you by Addis Ababa City Administration Education Bureau in collaboration with Addis Media Network. And I am Zuna Mekonnen. Today, we are going to see how to calculate base rate percentage. Calculating base rate and percentage. So, students, after this lesson, you are expected to calculate base, calculate rate in percentage. So, we try to see this concept through example. First, let's see this one. How do you calculate this? 30% of 120. How do we calculate this? To calculate this, simply you multiply these two. 30% of this one means 30% times 120. Therefore, here 30% times 120. So we can write this 30% in fraction form. It means 30 out of 100. So I can write this 30 over 100 times 120. So when you multiply these two, you have this. You can just divide these two numbers by 10, or you can cancel 0 by 0. Again here. So you have 3 times 12. You have 36. So from this example, what this 30 represents and 120 and 36. So in this example, this percent represents rate. And this 120 is a total quantity, so we call it a base. Normally, a base is this preceded by the off. It's always preceded by off. Therefore, here, this 120 represents a base. And this 36, a certain percent of total quantity, we call it as percentage. So this represents percentage. Therefore, here, let's define these terms. One, rate. Rate is a number which is expressed in percent. Simply, rate is the number expressed in percent. We call it a rate. Most of the time, we use the symbol R, capital R, for rate. Again, here, this one is a total quantity. So total quantity, we call it the base. Base it's a quantity, it represents a total quantity, or it represents 100% of a given quantity. Therefore, here, base, simply base, this represents, base represents the total quantity. The total quantity, or it represents 100%. Most of the time, we use the letter capital B to represent the base. Third, this 36, it's a part of the base. The part of the whole quantity, we call it percentage. Therefore, here, percentage, we use the symbol P, is a part of the whole quantity. It's a part of the whole quantity. We call it percentage. So, how do we relate these three quantities? Look, from this example, this percentage 36 obtained by multiplying 30% and 120. Therefore, this one is the rate, this one is the base. Therefore, this percentage is obtained by multiplying rate and base. Therefore, here, the relationship between base rate percentage is given by percentage is equal to the rate times the base. So, this is their relationship. Now, based on this concept, we'll try to see examples. Okay. Example 1. Calculate 10% of 120. So, how do you calculate this? Here, we have a formula to calculate a base rate and percentage. We have just written this equation. To calculate the percentage, simply you multiply the rate and the base. So, in this example, the number expressed in percent, we call it rate, and the number which is preceded by of is the base. Therefore, here, this one is the base, and this one is the rate. We are asked to find the percentage. So, to calculate percentage, simply you multiply the two. By the way, simply, we cannot just forget this formula, even simply we develop equation from the sentence. Simply, here it says 10% of 120 means it's simply the product of the two. Therefore, here, solution, we are asked to find 10% of 120. It is 10% of means this times 120. In other words, this means it is the product of the two, rate times base. Therefore, this is equal to 10%. When we write this in fraction form, it is 10 out of 100 times 120. So, this is equal to, we can divide this, or we simplify this to fractions by dividing both by 10 or by cancelling 0. Again, here you have 120 over 10. So, this will be 120 over 10. Cancel out, you will have 12. Therefore, 10% of 120 is 12. Okay, now let's proceed. Let's see second example. The second example, here it is, what percent of 150 is 30? What percent of this number gives you 30? So, how do you calculate this? Now, to calculate this without using the formula, what percent of this gives you 30? Let's convert this into equation 4. We don't know the person, so it will be x percent. So, x percent of 150 is 30, so we can try to find x using this equation. Or, using the formula, this one is, this number is, it is preceded by of, it is a base, and the part of the base is given. This one is a percentage, and we are asked to find the percent at the rate. So, and then we can apply this, but simply we can use the equation, or we can convert this into equation form. So x percent of 150, the equation will be x percent of 150 gives us 30. So what's x? Of means this times, therefore here it is x over 100. X percent means this, x over 100 times 150 gives us 30. So let's multiply these two. First, let's cancel 0 to simplify the term. So 15 times x is this 15x divided by 10 is equal to 30. Therefore, to solve for x, let's apply cross multiplication. 15 times 15x times 1 is 15x is equal to 10 times 30 gives us 300. And then divide both sides by 15 to solve for x. Therefore, finally you have this cancels out. X is equal to 300 divided by 15 gives you 30 over 15 is 2, it becomes 20. Therefore, the answer will be, x will be 20, so it must be 20%. Therefore, the answer will be this 20%. So if you calculate 20% of 150, you get 30. So that's it. Now I'll proceed to the third example so that you'll try the example. Example 3. 5% of x is 21. Then find x. Then find x. Please, students, try this question. I'll give you 30 seconds for this. Students, have you tried the question? Good. Now let's see the answer together. So here, it says 5% of x is 21. So we can change this into equation form. So here it is 5% of x is this 21. So what is x? Of means times. Therefore here, 5 over 100, 5% means 5 out of 100, times x gives you this 21. Therefore, here, 5 times x, it is 5x over 100 gives us 21. To find the value of x, let's apply cross multiplication. 5x times 1 gives you 5x. 21 times 100 gives you 2,100. To find x, let's divide both sides by 5. This cancels out. X is equal to, let's divide this number by 5. 4 times 20 1, 10, 2, 2 times 5, it is 10. 0, put 0 here, you have 420. Therefore, this will be the final answer. Okay, now we'll proceed to the next example. Example 4. Almaz scored 15 out of 20 in mathematics test. What's her score in percent? Okay, let's try this. So here, Almaz scored 50 out of 20. So I can express her score in fraction form, and then I will convert that into percent. Therefore, here, her score in fraction form is this 15 out of the total 20 questions. Therefore, this is her score. I can convert this into percent by multiplying by 100%. So this will be equal to, let's simplify this to, I can cancel 0. So you have 15 times 10 here. 15 times 10 is 150 divided by 2. There is percent here. So when you divide 150 by 2, you'll have 75. Therefore, her score in percent or out of 100 will be 75. So now let's proceed to the next example. Example 5. The total number of students in 7A is 50. If 4% of the students absent, how many students are absent? How many students were absent? So let's try this example together. Here we have the total number of students is 50. But 4% of the students were absent. So how many students were absent? The number of students were absent. This is 4%, therefore 4% of the total students 50 were absent. So simply we calculate this one, 4% of 50. So how do we calculate this? Simply you multiply these two numbers, 4% of 50. Therefore, this is equal to this. 4% means 4 out of 100 is 4 over 100 times 50. So when you simplify this, you have 0, you can cancel 0 by 0. And 4 times 5 is 20 divided by 10. 20 over 10 is this. 2 students were absent. 2 students were absent. So this will be the answer. Now we'll proceed to another example. %20 of Maron's salary is per 3,500. Calculate her full salary. Calculate her full salary. Please, students, try this question. I'll give you 30 seconds for this. Students, have you tried the question? Good. Now, let's see the answer together. Okay, here says 20% of Maron's salary. We don't know her salary. So, let's assume her salary is not noun. Let's use a variable x. 20% of this her salary is how much? It is 3,500. So, when we write this in equation form, you have this. 20% of her full salary, we don't know that, we assume to be x, is how much? Is it is per 3,500. So, we are asked to find her full salary, or the variable x. Of means times, so let's convert this into product form. 20% means this 20 out of 100. Of means times x is equal to 3,500. Now, here let's simplify this. You can cancel the zeros or divide both by 10, and you have 2 over 10. So here, 2 times x gives us 2x over 10 is equal to 3,500. So to find x, just apply cross multiplication. 2x times 1 gives you 2x is equal to, the product of the two is this 3,530, that is 35,000. And then to find x, let's divide both sides by 2. This cancels out. X is equal to, let's divide this, 35,000 by 2. 35,000 divided by 2, 1 times this 2, 1, 15, 15 divided by 7 times, 7 times this 14, 1, just put 0 down, 10 divided by 2 is 5, 5 times 2 it is 10, no remainder, so take these 2 zeros here, and you have 17,500. Therefore, the answer would be this 17,500. So this is all about calculating base, rates, and percentage. The next concept is this, how to calculate percent increase and percent decrease. Let's continue to this concept. Percent increase, percent increase, increase and decrease. Okay, here let's see one thing here. If you have a number 50, if 50 is changed into or increased to 60, what percent or what's the percent increase from 50 to 60? To find the percent increase, what you do is simply calculate the increased amount and write that increased amount as a fraction with respect to the original amount. Therefore, to convert this to percent form, the increased amount is 60 minus 50. So you divide this by the original quantity and then you multiply it by 100% to convert it into percent. Therefore, this gives us this 10 over 50 times 100%. This cancels out. 10 over 100 over 5 is 20 will be the final answer. So, when you calculate percent increase, what you do is simply just you calculate the increased amount and then you divide by the original quantity. Again, if you are asked to calculate percent decrease, what is a percent decrease from 50 to 40? What's the percent decrease from 50 to 40? So, in this case, to find the percent decrease, first you have to calculate the decreased amount. So, this number is decreased by what amount? It's decreased by 10. Therefore, or simply find the decreased amount by subtracting the smaller from the bigger one, and then you divide or you compare it with the original quantity 50, and then you multiply by 100% to convert into percent form. Therefore, 50 minus 40 is 10 over 50 times 100%. Therefore, this cancels out 100 over 5 is 20%. Therefore here, to calculate percent increase is given by is the ratio of increased amount divided by original quantity times 100%. And to calculate percent decrease, what you do is, first you have to find the decreased amount. The decreased amount divided by the original quantity. The original quantity times 100%. These are the equations to calculate percent increase and percent decrease. So let's see example for these two equations. Example 1. Calculate the percent increase. Calculate the percent increase from 200 to 250. Calculate the percent increase from 200 to 250. So, to calculate this, let's do the question together. To calculate this, what you do is, this number is changed from 200 to 250. So, percent increase, it's increased, therefore, percent increase is equal to increased amount. So here 250 minus 200 gives you the increased amount. So you find by subtracting 250 minus 200 the increased amount, and you divide by the original quantity, it is 200, and then you multiply it by 100%. So this gives you 250 minus 200 is this, 50, divided by 200 times 100%. 0 cancel out, and you have 50 over 2, it is 25% will be the percent increase from 200 to 250. Then I'll proceed to the next. Example 2, the number of students in 7A decreased from 40 to 30. What's the percent decrease? What is the percent? What is the percent decrease? Please, students, try this question. I'll give you 30 seconds for this. Students, have you tried the question? Good. Now let's see the answer together. Here, we are asked to find the percent decrease from 40 to 30. Percent decrease from 40 to 30. So, to calculate the percent decrease, first, you have to find the decreased amount. Here, number 40 is changed in 30. It decreased by 10, or find by subtracting 30 from 40. So you have the decreased amount is this, 40 minus 30, and then you divide by the original quantity, it is 40, and finally you multiply it by 100%. Therefore, 40 minus 30 is this, 10 over 40 times 100%. 0 with 0 cancel out, and 100 over 4, 100 over 4%. 100 divided by 4 is this, 25 will be the correct answer. So this is how to calculate percent increase and percent decrease. So this is all about how to calculate percent increase, decrease, and calculating base rate and percentage. So I'll give you questions that you'll try it at home. Exercise 1. Calculate 15% of 1,000. B. In a class, there are 50 students, out of which 20 are boys. What percent of the students are girls? What percent? What percent? What percent of the students are girls? Okay, third, the price of theft. The price of theft increased from there 12,000 to 15,000 per quintal. Calculate the percent increase. Calculate the percent increase. So students, this is all about today's lesson. I will give you 1 minute to copy the question. Until next lesson, goodbye.
አዲስ ሚዲያ ኔትወርክ